Hello everybody. So the D23 Expo was this past weekend, and we got a lot of things announced, a lot of trailers released, and a lot of fun things to talk about. So let's talk about it. Alright, so I know a lot of people were kind of disappointed with the amount of stuff that was kind of announced and shown to us here. They were kind of expecting more, like some Fantastic forecasting, but honestly, Fantastic Four, a few years out. It's like late 2024 is when it's supposed to come out. We got a ton of time. We got a Comic-Con and another D23 between now and then, so it could happen there or just any time in between. I'm not really that disappointed that we didn't get casting confirmations. We got the director confirmation, which we kind of already knew, but I don't know. Doesn't really bother me too much that we didn't get Fantastic Four casting, because there's a ton more time so that we can get it. And it's a little bit early to get it, I feel. But anyway, let's get into my thoughts on what we got at D23. So we're going to start out with Disney, with the Little Mermaid trailer. I think it's a cool novelty idea. It was visually stunning. But honestly, I'm getting a bit tired of these Disney live-action remakes. I think they need to focus on doing stuff original. It's, again, nice as a novelty of like, oh, remember that movie, you know, the animated movie that you loved from your childhood? Here's a live-action version of it. But it's just getting a bit tiring. It's not really adding stuff to the story. It's not really, like, adding anything to it. Just kind of like, hey, it's live-action. That's cool. But in a lot of ways, a lot of these are kind of like not even being that good, not even living up to the original. It's just like, alright, I guess that was kind of cool, but the original was way better. And if you're going to watch the movie many times, I'll just watch the original animated version instead of the live action. Also, never really been the biggest fan of The Little Mermaid. I enjoy it when I watch it, but it's not something I have, like, a ton of nostalgia for. I didn't watch it a ton growing up, so it's not something that I'm like, oh man, The Little Mermaid, that's awesome. It's a good movie. I've seen it. It's good, but it's not the movie that's, like, a staple of my childhood that I'm like, oh man, live-action remake, that is for me, so. Yeah, live-action remake seemed like a gimmick, and so, with that not being too into The Little Mermaid anyway, and just getting a bit tired of these live action remakes, I'm not too excited, but still. Now for something I actually do have a ton of nostalgia for, Disenchanted. The first Enchanted was probably one of like the big movies of my childhood. I had that movie on loop. It's one of the movies I had on loop, and so man, yeah, I'm so happy we are getting a sequel to it now. It's been something that it's been rumored to be happening for years. It's like, oh, we're gonna get it this year. Oh, we're gonna get it this year. It's never been happening, and even having kind of confirmed that it's happening this year, it's coming out on Disney Plus in November, I was still kind of like, I don't know. I have to wait for a trailer. We finally have a trailer for it, and just watching the trailer, it really just puts you right back into the world of Enchanted, with Giselle and Prince Edward and everybody. It just really just puts you right back into there, like it hasn't been, 15 years since the last movie. I mean, it was so good. I think the idea that, like, Giselle makes a wish and then inadvertently becomes the evil stepmother, that seemed like what they're doing with it, that sounds interesting. And it's just really fun that we're finally getting Disenchanted, the sequel to Enchanted. It was supposed to come out, I think, like, originally, I think we were supposed to get this in, like, 2011. Like, it's a movie that, like, it was supposed to come out. I was, like, excited as a kid, like, oh, we're getting Enchanted too. And then, like, it just never happened. And it was something that, like growing up, I'd be like, wait, whatever happened to that? Wasn't that supposed to happen? It's kind of the same thing as, like, Spider-Man 4. It was like, wasn't there supposed to be a Spider-Man 4 in 2011? That never happened, and then there's just The Amazing Spider-Man. Both those films at the same time kind of got canceled. So, hopefully, Spider-Man 4 will be coming back at some point. Also, we got No Way Home, so I guess that kind of covers it, but Spider-Man 4 would be pretty cool. But anyway, yeah, I'm very excited for this. It's been something that, like, what, it's been 10 years, 15 years in the making. Like, I've just been waiting for it for so long. My 5-year-old self is very pleased by this, so, yeah. This is so awesome. I cannot wait for this. I can't believe it's actually happened. But anyway, those are kind of the only things that really stuck out to me from the Disney side of the panel. I was not the biggest fan of Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus 2 didn't really pique my interest. There's this thing, Peter Pan and Wendy, where Jude Law is Captain Hook. Seems cool enough. Not a big into Peter Pan or anything, so it's not like insanely exciting, but it's cool, I guess. But yeah, moving on to Pixar. With Inside Out 2, not really sure Inside Out needed a sequel, but I'm still excited for what they came up with, and I'm trusting that if they're making this, they have a compelling story to go along with it, and I have a feeling, if they're going with, like, the timeline being kind of reflective of the actual amount of time that's passed since the movie, I think Riley would be at the time of her life where she's going into college, and so that could kind of be, the way the plot's going is, how is she dealing with emotions of graduating high school and going off to college? That is going to wreck me. Oh my god. I feel like that's what they're going to do. I feel like that's what they're going to do, and it is going to wreck me. But yeah, if that ends up being where they're going, that sounds interesting, and I feel like, I do have some kind of concerns because I think Inside Out didn't need a sequel, but if they're making one, again, I have to trust that they came up with a good concept that will pull at your emotions, the same way that the first one did, and so I'm pretty excited for this, and I can't wait to see kind of, get more information about it, like what their actual idea is with this. And again, nothing really else piqued my interest with Pixar, so I'll also move on to, we got a Percy Jackson teaser trailer. That looks awesome. I can't wait for that. I've read the first 2 Percy Jackson books and seen the 2 movies, which I know, but yeah, I'm very excited for like a real proper live action adaptation of Percy Jackson. I think the trailer kind of set the tone right. It took the narration right from the, beginning of the first book, and so I think this looks awesome. I can't wait to see what this is. I'm a bit torn as to whether or not I should read the rest of the Percy Jackson books before I see this, because on the one hand, I think it would be cool to read the books and then see this and see the books come to life. But then at the same time, I'm like, I kind of want to just experience the story in the series, so I'm a bit torn of how I want to go about that, but yeah, I'm very excited for this, to see, again, a proper live-action Percy Jackson adaptation, and so I'm very excited for this. Then, we got a trailer for the Santa Clauses. I am unreasonably excited about this. I don't know why I'm so excited for going back to the Santa Claus, but I am. This is just, I don't know, this is so cool, because I honestly had the idea for this a few years ago. I had this exact idea of Santa Claus is retiring, and he has to find somebody, he has to find his replacement. That would be so cool to, have that be, another, the Santa Claus movie. And I guess this is going to be a show, but, that'd be cool, return to that world, and we're showing Scott Calvin retired from Santa Claus and having to find his replacement. That sounds like an awesome concept. I think I've always kind of wanted to see, who's the next Santa Claus? You have this world where it's people just become Santa Claus, and then, it just kind of rotates through people, but it's I feel like what was missing from the Santa Claus franchise was, who's the next one? Who's the next Santa Claus? Now, and I think, inherently with that, you're kind of well, does that mean Scott dies? So you kind of don't want to have Scott die and have somebody else become Santa Claus, but what you do want is to have him, a better idea is to have him be retiring and then have to find his replacement. That's, I think, a more family-friendly idea. So, seeing Tim Allen playing the Santa Claus again, he's great. So, that is going to be awesome, and I am just very, very excited about this. Okay, so now we'll move on to Star Wars with the Andor trailer, and as we get closer and closer to this series, I am getting more and more excited for it. It's something that a few months ago, if you had asked me, oh, what's your excitement for Andor? I would have probably been like, not too high, because, I don't know, I wasn't really that interested in seeing a series about the guy from Rogue One. I just wasn't as interested in that, but as we get more and more information about this, and as it seems like it's going to be this, like, spy thriller, directed by the guy who directed The Bourne Legacy. Oh. But also the guy who wrote the original Bourne trilogy. Oh! So yeah, I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be cool. I think because it doesn't have, ties to a character that, we have a ton of nostalgia for, I think it'll allow them to kind of have some room to do things that maybe, if you're using a character like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Boba Fett, you kind of have like a set expectation for how that character is, and so you get into some trouble where if the character's acting outside of your view of that character, it just ruins the show. And so with this, we don't really have that many preconceptions of Andor. We just have him in Rogue One, and so we just kind of have to go along with that, but that's not a ton that we need to. We don't really know a ton of his backstory, so they have a lot of free reign to do whatever they want. Still keeping with Star Wars universe. You don't want to ruin the entire thing, but I think it'll be cool to see this kind of spy thriller set in the Star Wars universe, and not having to really, have to be in the box of, oh, this character has to act this way. Kind of have a lot of room where I think it won't be as disappointing as some of the stuff we've gotten recently from Star Wars. So I'm excited for this. I think it's gonna be cool, and I'm really excited to see it, the 3-episode premiere of it in about a week. Also, 12 episodes. 12 episodes. I don't have to say it anymore. 6-episode thing is awful, so 12 episodes, phenomenal. It's just refreshing to see an actual good length season of a Disney Plus season. So, good job. Then, Mandalorian Season 3. We got a trailer for it, and it looks so good. So, seems like Mando is no longer a Mandalorian, because he took off his helmet in Season 2, and so I guess his journey is trying to become a Mandalorian again. Maybe along the way, he'll have a change of heart and realize maybe he doesn't want to be at least that type of Mandalorian again. That's my prediction, is that he'll kind of realize, you know what? He's kind of part of a Mandalorian cult that's a little bit too strict on the rules, and he's going to kind of move away from that and maybe become more of a Bo-Katan Mandalorian. I kind of think that would be cool. It's going to be cool to see him and Grogu going on another adventure. Obviously, they got reunited in the Book of Boba Fett. Kind of weird that they did that on the Boba Fett show, but it doesn't matter. Talked about that before. And so, pretty much everybody else. But anyway, yeah, cool to see him, Grogu, again, going on another adventure. I just mentioned Bo-Katan. We'll see the return of her. We'll see kind of how the whole thing with Mando having the Darksaber now plays out with her. And it seems like we're going to explore a lot more Mandalorian lore. Because I think now that we don't have to, bring Grogu to the Jedi, I think we can just explore Mandalorian stuff. And Grogu is there for the cute stuff, the cute relationship between, him and Mando. But I think the focus of the story is going to be Mandalorians, exploring Mandalorian culture, Mandalorian lore, and I think that's really cool. It's just, is so cool to explore now, because I think we've explored a lot of Jedi stuff, explored a lot of Rebellion and, Empire, Sith, like just all that stuff that we kind of explored a lot. And if you touch it, if you keep touching that stuff, you're gonna ruin it. But we haven't explored Mandalorian stuff in a lot of Star Wars, at least movies and series and things like that. Of course, right, there's a ton of comics, books that explore Mandalorian stuff, but in the mainstream, what the average consumer views, the movies, the series, we haven't explored Mandalorian stuff a lot. And so, it's going to be cool to see some more of that. And I mean, like, The Mandalorian is hands down the best Star Wars thing out there right now. It's the most agreed upon, it's a thing that, like, in a world where pretty much everything Star Wars results in an argument in a comment section somewhere, The Mandalorian very rarely creates an argument. So, yeah, it's pretty universally accepted, universally liked, and so I'm so excited for Season 3. Sounds awesome. Everything involved with it sounds awesome. Again, nothing else caught my eye with Star Wars. There's Tales of the Jedi shorts. They kind of look fun, but there's nothing else that they really said there that, was of substance, of something that was like, oh, that's cool. It was kind of, I think they may have, like, shown things there for certain shows, like Ahsoka, but, we didn't get anything as, people who didn't go to D23 Expo, actually, so, kind of don't have a ton to talk about with anything else relating to Star Wars. But we'll move on to Marvel with Werewolf by Night. We got a trailer. And I do not know what to make of this. I don't know what to make of this. It's going for very specific, like, horror movies from the 30s style. Very, very intrigued by this. Very confused and intrigued. No idea how this fits into the larger MCU and the timeline. Like, is it set in, like, the 30s, or is it just the style it's using is that? I don't know what this is. It seems a lot like WandaVision in the sense of, like, it's using an older style of filmmaking, and it's just kind of, like, just disorienting to see, like, this thing that you're not sure, like, why are they going for this style here that just isn't done in modern day, and in this cinematic universe that doesn't use that style. Like, how does this fit in? And I don't know how it's going to. WandaVision kind of makes sense, like, oh, magic, and she's doing the whole thing, controlling the town and going through her childhood sitcoms and stuff. But I don't know how Werewolf by Night is going to kind of explain this. So I really just do not know what to expect from this. It's a Marvel, special presentation, Hollywood special that's going to be coming out in October. And we kind of didn't even get any news about it until, like, just now. At D23, it's kind of just like, oh yeah, we're going to have a holiday special. Yeah, whatever. It's good. Werewolf by Night. We didn't really get a lot of news about it. We didn't get, like, a trailer until just now. So it's kind of strange that they waited so long to give us this. And I'm very confused by it. Intrigued, confused, interested, probably gonna watch it. I don't know what to expect though. So yeah. I don't even know what else to say about this. It was just weird. It was a weird experience, and I have no idea how this is going to fit into the larger MCU, if it is, and what this is going to end up being. I'm gonna move on. Secret Invasion. We got a Secret Invasion trailer. It looks epic. This looks epic. Very Nick Fury centric story. We got Maria Hill and Rhodey in it, of course, and Talos, and they're dealing with this Skrull invasion. It seems like it's going for a more serious tone, which I think is exactly what the MCU needs right now. I think we've been getting a lot of, kind of comedic things with Thor: Love and Thunder and She-Hulk, kind of leaning too much into the comedy and not really taking itself seriously enough. Like, I get that it's the, style it's going for, it's, trying to be a comedy, but, like, I don't know, I want my MCU to kind of at least, to have some comedy, but to be able to take itself seriously, I don't want just, like, a joke after joke after joke that's kind of just like, okay, you sacrificed good story for a joke. I think, it's good that we're kind of returning to the serious tone with Secret Invasion, very Winter Soldier-esque, who can you trust, and I think, while I had previously thought that I would want this to be an Avengers level movie, like it's Avengers level threat going, after the Skrulls, the secret invasion of the Skrulls, and the Avengers have to form and fight them. Well, I thought that that's what I wanted from this. I realized with this trailer that it's much cooler to have it just be a Nick Fury-centric story where he has just a few people he trusts. Nick Fury's whole character, he can count on one hand the people he trusts. Just a small group of people he trusts that he knows aren't Skrulls, going after the Skrulls. Probably going, for a bit of it, going after the Skrulls alone. Nick Fury, I don't know, that sounds cool. I think that's a very Nick Fury thing to do, and I think it makes sense in this, like, idea of Skrull invasion, shape-shifting aliens, who is actually the person you can trust. I think it just makes sense to have it be a more centralized, small group of characters going after them than, like, a big ensemble where it's like, how could you keep track of who's a Skrull and who's not? It's kind of easier to just be like, we cannot trust that anybody is not a Skrull. And there's probably going to be a reveal somewhere that, like, this person was a Skrull the entire time and we didn't know. That's totally going to happen. So, yeah. I'm excited for this. I think it's really cool. It's changed my idea of what I wanted this to be. And I'm just now so excited for this, to see this. Again, to see a Nick Fury-centric story that I think it's good that we're getting finally. We haven't seen him in other movies, but to see his own movie where this is basically the Nick Fury movie, the Nick Fury show. So, I'm excited for it. And if we're bringing in the few people Nick Fury trusts, maybe we bring in Coulson. I've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I'm kind of like, I don't know, I feel like they should bring in Coulson back in the MCU at some point. I mean, he's on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they show him he's alive, so, like, I think it would be cool to kind of be like, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, is it too late to kind of do it? I don't know. I think it would be kind of cool to have Coulson in here at some point as one of the, few people Nick Fury can trust. But anyway, move on to some announcements that we got from the MCU. Armor Wars is still happening. So, no news other than just it's happening. War Machine will be the protagonist of that. It's kind of going to lead, directly after Secret Invasion. So whatever is going on with Rhodey and Secret Invasion will tie straight into Armor Wars. At least we know this project has not been forgotten. It seemed like it was forgotten. Like, guys, you said Armor Wars was happening. We have no news of that. So, what's happening with it? At least they're kind of like addressed, like, it's still happening. Don't worry, guys. Still happening. The leader is returning in Captain America New World Order. That is so cool that the leader, that they're actually going to pay that off from the Incredible Hulk. That it's, for the longest time, you're just like, wow, like, you watch the Incredible Hulk and you're just like, that went nowhere. That, that tease of the leader, him getting, like, the blood and, the cut on his head, you're like, wow, that went nowhere. Now it's like, finally, it's going somewhere. 15 years too late.
15 years too late.
But still, it's finally happening. Finally getting a payoff for that. Finally getting the leader. Bit strange it's happening in a Captain America movie, but I guess they can't really make a Hulk movie because of the rights to the character and stuff, so it's at least cool that they're gonna actually pay that off. And I think I heard that, like, the copyright for, like, the rights for the Hulk are kind of gonna switch up soon, so maybe in a few years they'll actually be able to make a Hulk movie, so that's why they're kind of making some moves to, like, bring the Hulk characters back into this, like Abomination and the Leader and stuff like that, so that's really cool. I'm just happy that they're finally going to pay that off. That's always been just something that I've been like, that went nowhere. It's finally going somewhere. Then the Thunderbolts roster. Probably the biggest thing that at least was announced at D23 was the Thunderbolts roster. Now I will say, here, I'll say the roster first. So, Val,
Obvious.
Ghost, Red Guardian, Yelena, Bucky, US Agent, and Taskmaster. So, that really just proved my video that I made a few weeks ago. And I guess Val is probably going to show up in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania to recruit Ghost. That'll probably be her next appearance, and then after that she won't be appearing until Thunderbolts. So that'll be cool. And I don't know, I just think they could have had a more diverse group of characters in the sense of, like, coming from different parts of the MCU, different projects, because they're all pretty much either from Black Widow or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Then there's Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp, but, like, besides Ghost, everybody else is either from Black Widow or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's a bit strange. You could have just pulled some other characters in. I was hoping for Abomination. I mean, I feel like Abomination would have been a perfect pick for this, because he's trying to be, you know, trying to be good, trying to redeem himself, and so you have Abomination in the Thunderbolts. I think that would be perfect. They may still do it. It could be that this is just kind of the list of characters that we know, that, like, you know, we've seen enough, and so it's like they kind of confirm these characters, but there's more to come. I hope that's what they're going for, but I don't know. I feel like this is it. I feel like if they were going to have other characters, they would have just announced them, so it's kind of disappointing, the roster we got. It's not bad, but it's like, it's just a bunch of, like, super soldiers and skilled assassins, and, you know, it's not like there's a diverse group of, like, power sets. It's just kind of like, I don't know, they're all from this, you know, they all have similar powers, and they all come from, like, only 2 Marvel projects. And Ant-Man and the Wasp is the outlier with Ghost, but, you know, again, everybody else is coming from Black Widow or Falcon and Winter Soldier. I wish they pulled from more. So yeah, overall, I think they could have made, like, a much cooler team, but I still think the dynamic between these characters is going to be interesting. They pretty much all have some kind of trauma, so they could bond over that. And I really liked what Kevin Feige said at the panel. He was like, you know, when the Winter Soldier is the most stable person on the Thunderbolts, that tells you something. Or something along those lines. I thought that was pretty funny. Like, yeah, Bucky's the most stable person on the team. Yikes. I'm excited for this movie, even though the roster may not have been what I expected, what I would have wanted. It's still going to be a cool movie. I'm so excited for it. All the characters I like, so I like to see them in a movie interacting with each other, so I'm not too disappointed with this, but I feel like they could have just made a better team and pulled some more of the MCU, but whatever. Still cool. Still excited for the movie. Still gonna watch it, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But we'll move on to Fantastic Four. The director was confirmed. It pretty much was already confirmed. I kind of touched on this earlier. Pretty much was already confirmed that, you know, Matt Shakman was going to be the director a few weeks ago. It was kind of, like, rumored that and pretty much confirmed that. But at least they officially said it here. Kevin Feige said Fantastic Four has a director. It's Matt Shakman. Shakman. Why did I say Shakman? Shakman. The showrunner for WandaVision, which I'm not particularly, like, insanely excited about that. Like, I thought WandaVision was a good show, but it's like, I don't know. I'm not like, oh man, Matt Shackman. Like, I'm just kind of like, okay, that's cool. The guy who did WandaVision is going to be doing Fantastic Four. I like WandaVision, so I'm sure he'll do a good job. And if they go the route that I'm hoping they're going to, that a lot of people have kind of speculated that maybe they could go the route of, like, having the Fantastic Four be set in, like, the 60s, and then, like, they get stuck in the quantum realm for, you know, until today. And so, you know, if it's a movie that's set in the 60s, and you got a director who was, you know, the showrunner for a show that dealt with, you know, exploring sitcom styles from different decades in the 1900s, one of which being the 60s, that seems like a good pairing. If that's the route they're going to go, then that seems like a pretty good pairing to have. A guy who did show, dealing with different decades of television in Marvel, and doing a show that's set in the past in the 60s, or a movie that's set in the 60s. That sounds cool. That raises my excitement for the pick for him as director, but even if they don't do that, I still think he'll do a good job. I'm not, like, nervous about it, but I'm not like, yeah, Matt Jackman. I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. Sure, I'll do a good job. Sure, it'll be a good movie. Excited to see Fantastic Four again. I really, really want casting, casting confirmations. Please, John Krasinski. John Krasinski, Reed Richards. Please. Every day, I'm like, come on. It's gotta happen. They gotta announce it. But, again, even they didn't announce it at D23, I am disappointed that they didn't, but at the same time, I know there's a lot of time between now and when the movie comes out for them to announce it. They probably don't even really have it set yet who the cast is, so I can be patient. No, I can't, but I'll have to be. And yeah, that pretty much wraps up everything that I was excited about from D23. Nothing else really, like, caught my attention. So I know there's Indiana Jones. I have not seen the Indiana Jones movie. Well, I have, but not, like, I've just kind of seen it, like, 10 years ago, maybe, and just, I don't know. I'm not really into the Indiana Jones, movies, yet. I do want to at some point, but not yet, so I'm not like, Indiana Jones 5? It's like, okay, that's cool they're making that. I want to get into Indiana Jones for that, so I could, watch the movie when it comes out, but it's not something that I'm like, yes, in the moment. So, also National Treasure, not into National Treasure either. So, yeah, just know that if I didn't mention it, either I completely missed it, and I'm sorry, or it's probably just something that I'm just not that interested in, that I just don't have nostalgia for that thing that's coming back. So, yeah. Anyway, though, those are my thoughts on everything from the D23 Expo. All the things that got announced, all the trailers that got released, everything. Here's my thoughts on them, and I would love to hear your thoughts. So please comment below your thoughts on D23 Expo, and remember to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and maybe check out some of my other videos. And with that said, that's a wrap.